free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Henry Ford's known for great ideas, but he really used his bean on this one. Soybean, that is. During the Depression, Ford's chemists focused on converting agricultural products into industrial products to stimulate the farm-based economy. Enter the soybean who, in My Fair Lady style, was transformed from dirt-poor roots into the plastic of star car parts like horn buttons, gearshift knobs, and body enamel. Soy wouldn't, you know? Ford didn't stop there. He also developed a soy wool-like fabric that cost half of sheep's wool. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Winter vacations, skiing, sledding, hot chocolate in the lodge. But no such luck for transmission repair technicians. When I come back, I'll tell you why winter snowstorms keep transmission shops busy.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Transmission shops are busiest after a heavy snowstorm because, think about it. What do we do when we're stuck in snow? If you said rock our cars back and forth from low gear to reverse, you're right. Unfortunately, for our cars and our wallets, we rock way too hard, resulting in overheated automatic transmissions and damage to universal joints. So the next time you're stuck in snow, easy does it. And remember, if you're really stuck, a tow truck may be cheaper than a new transmission. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. It's the new year and a great time to restart your computer. No, I'm not talking about your Dell, but when we come back, some advice for reprogramming the hard drive in your head with Road Smarts.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Reprogram last year's bad driving habits with Control, Alt, Delete. Control Road Rage. Road rage is more deadly than the My Doom worm, but it's a virus you can prevent from replicating. Alternative vehicles, like Harleys and Suzukis, leave screaming cycling speeds to your Pentium 4s. With your increased numbers, 100% over the last 5 years, comes giga responsibility. Delete drunk driving. 1.5 million Americans were arrested last year for being under the influence, and one alcohol-related crash happened every half hour. Come on, Control, Alt, Delete accident fatalities this year and arrive safely at home. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Achoo! Uh-oh, it's cold season again, and we aren't the only ones whose joints ache. When we come back, I'll tell you how to prevent pain in the body, automotive.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Just like human bodies, automotive systems are also challenged when the mercury drops. For example, your car has CV joints which connect transmission to wheels, like your hip joints attach torso to legs. People are born with the fluid that lubricates this connection, and cars come with it from the factory. But over time, both can lose it due to age or injury. CV joints are especially vulnerable in winter when their protective rubber boots are brittle and tear more easily, allowing precious lubricant to leak. To prevent the blues caused by broken joints, include CVs in your winter inspection. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Brought to you by Royal Purple Synthetic Oil, the performance oil that outperforms.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And I want to welcome you to this is a special edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. So welcome. I'm glad to have you in the house. Miss Jan is back in the house today. Welcome back, Miss Jan. She's sitting in for Hannah. That's just kind of an unusual, that's an oxymoron, or that's kind of backwards, isn't it, Jan? Because, I mean, you created the position, you held the position for like 19 years as a screener. So let's all welcome back, folks, Jan Mitchell, who is our screener today. Hannah is off with family for the holidays. This will be the last Car Clinic program that you will hear in 2017. I want to make that really clear. So welcome to December the 30th, 2017. It's going to be a great show. I invite you. We have no interviews today, no special guests except for you, me, and the telephone, which is ironically how Bobby Likis Car Clinic started. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you this day in part by the Car Care Council. If you're traveling this holiday season, remember to follow the 3 P's: prepare, prevent, and plan to save money and avoid breakdowns. That's cool. It works. You can learn more at carcare.org. Also, proud that Bobby Likis is brought to you in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built, folks, to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, and all the demands of today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com. We recently sat down with Johnson Controls Global Brand Manager Joe Meyer to discuss the advantages of AGM batteries when compared to traditional flooded batteries. Let's hear from Joe.
A key difference between the two batteries is how the acid is handled. So in a traditional flooded battery, the acid is free-flowing. However, in an AGM or absorbent glass mat battery, the acid is completely absorbed into the glass mat separators. Our AGM batteries meet non-spillable requirements, which support enhanced safety. So in the event of a crash, our AGM batteries will not leak acid. Another important difference is that the high compression cell design of our AGM batteries leads to improved vibration resistance and battery cycling capabilities. Basically, in non-technical terms, our AGM battery design helps provide up to 2 times the life of standard flooded batteries.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles. Learn more at autobatteries.com. Car repairs get expensive, and a lot of us don't have spare money to cover them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. A car may only have a retail value of a few $100s, so an expensive repair wouldn't make sense. Or car repairs may come at a time when cash is short. For example, last year, a mother came into our shop on her way back from shopping for Christmas because her car smelled like coolant and the temp gauge was fluctuating. We put it on the hoist and found a leak coming from the rear head gasket. She had just purchased the car for $1,500 and wasn't prepared for Christmas cost and a $1,600 repair. We used K-Seal and had her return for a follow-up the next day, and we were happy, but not surprised, to help her avoid a coolant leak casualty. Now, a regular customer, she's had no further leaks or expensive repairs. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers everywhere and get more information on K-Seal at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning, happy morning. Your name is Folgers Mountain Grow, now you're here. Your aroma helps me wake and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special good morning to all of you. My voice sounds a little shaky this morning, but it's not. It's not. It's all that. You're not supposed to drink coffee with cream in it or with creamer in it before coming on the air, at least for the first 20 or 30 minutes. At least that's what it worked for me, but that's okay. It'll clear and it'll go away. Now, I want to welcome each and every one of you to this program today. It's been a great year. We have had just an amazing technology forward-thinking society, and I thought what I would do is share with you. The first thing I'm going to do is take a call from Christine in Missouri, but before I put Christine on the air, and Christine, thank you for holding and thank you for calling in early. And folks, the show is yours today, so 888 Car Clinic is the number, 888-227-2546. I thought I would give you some latest reports, if I could get away from that microphone. I can't talk without my hands because I'm a Greek, you know. And I'll give you the reports on electric vehicles and then on the government's take on it and where we are in that respect. And then also what some industry icons have talked about, like Bob Lutz, who is the biggest automotive icon probably ever in automobile range, both from an OEM standpoint and also from a standpoint of independents and race guys and car guys, yeah. And I won't say guys, but car enthusiasts, male and female alike. So I'll share with you the U.S. Department of Transportation when they unveil the guidance for self-driving cars, because that has to come first. And then I'll talk about how Ford has changed their CEO, because the existing Mark Fields, who was a heck of a nice guy and with Ford 28 years and loyal, is still there, but was CEO, but he apparently didn't have connections to Silicon Valley, so they brought in another person and made, not because they weren't selling cars, but because they want someone who is connected to Silicon Valley because of the new electrification of the fleet and alternative fuels and those sorts of things. And then share a little bit about Tesla and Mazda with a new internal combustion engine that is not necessarily new, but it's new to you and new to the industry and to the street. But first, let's go to Missouri and take a call from Christine, and then I'll take your call. Jan will take your calls at 888-227-2546. Put you in a queue, and I will put you on the air. Thank you, Miss Christine, for holding. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, well, thank you for taking my call. Yes, I just wanted to start out by saying that I have a 09 Chevy Cobalt, and I hit a live coon a way back and got a brand new radiator, and then I hit a dead coon. And coons are pretty thick in this part of the country. Mm-hmm. Anyway,
obviously,
this was a dead one. He was really bloated, and I guess that's probably what triggered a slight leak in the radiator, ever so slight. And I just noticed it now here, just really with the colder weather, and the car starts rising in temperature rapidly at a light. Well, that's before we've had these extreme frigid temperatures, but I put the heater on, and that does bring the temperature down, but I don't know what temperature I should drive it at. It does have internal reading on it, though, that allows me to see exactly what the temperature is on the steering wheel. I just touch a button, and it reads out on my dash what the temperature is. And I just want to know what my options are for getting my car to run at a good temperature.
Well, Christine, you can't control the temperature of the engine. That's controlled by the thermostat, provided that the system is filled with coolant. So my concern, or my question of you had radiator replaced, but do you have a coolant leak right now? In other words, you said that the car cools better when you turn the heater on, and that's normal because the heater inside the passenger's compartment is indeed a smaller radiator, but it's the same, it works identically to the radiator under the hood, except the radiator under the hood is a lot larger, of course, and has a lot more air flow because it's exposed to the outside of the car, whereas the interior radiator, or the heater core, it only flows the amount of air that the blower motor forces over it. Now, having said that, you bring up a good point that everyone should know about, that really has nothing to do with what your call's about, but it has to do with if you get stranded like on a bridge somewhere, like in our hometown of Pensacola, Florida, we have the Bay Bridge, and sometimes you get stranded on that bridge because of an accident or what have you. When that happens and your cooling system appears to be falling behind, even in the dead of summer, which we have a lot of here, more so than the winter, you can turn on your heater, put your windows down, turn the heater on, and the heater, being an auxiliary radiator, will help to cool the car down. That's with a healthy car. Now, And a truly healthy car, you won't need to do that. But unfortunately, cars are not like our bodies. Cars are not always healthy. Back to your car. If your cooling system has a leak, the first thing you should do is correct the leak. So does your system have a coolant leak?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And it seems to be down low near where the hose comes off from the radiator. But I was just wondering, is 210, is that a
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Temperature?
210 is safe. 210. In fact, your engine's cooling fans probably aren't scheduled to come on, except when the air conditioner's on. Your engine's cooling fans, which the fans cool the radiator, draw air through the radiator, and those fans are not necessary until the radiator or the engine reaches operating temperature. And then it goes to the max, which is about 225. Then the fans come on and it'll cool and it'll rock somewhere once it stabilizes. And to stabilize means that all of the coolant in the radiator and all the coolant in the engine are about the same temperature, as controlled by how fast you're going, how much air is flowing over the engine or over the radiator and the thermostat. So I said all that to say this, and I'll give you some good advice. Do you have a pen where you can write this down?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready.
There's a product that I use that is going to be perfect for your application, because you've got a new radiator. Unfortunately, it was damaged, by hitting that dead animal. So what you need to do is to buy this product, put it in the cooling system, and it's called K-Seal, the letter K, seal. And K-Seal does what its name implies. It seals the cooling system. And it's the world's largest, and with ASTM testing, it's the world's largest coolant sealer that's manufactured. And it works for us. So here's the first thing you do, Christine. And you go to kseal.org or kseal.com and learn more. It is a .com, yes, kseal.com. So you pour K-Seal in the cooling system. And then you make sure that the cooling system is filled, and you drive the car. And you can actually just let the car idle, too, for about 15 or 20 minutes. So that's the first thing that I would do in your case, because regardless of how healthy the radiator or the cooling system will be, it's only as healthy as the amount of coolant in it, and it stays in it. So that's the first thing that you do. Then the second thing is to drive it for the next 2 or 3 days and check it on a regular basis. And there's an overflow reservoir that's your Cobalt has, and you can look at the cold or cool or cold fill line and look at the warm fill line, and just know that in the morning time you're going to see the reservoir maybe 2 inches lower in fill level than when it's hot. And that's okay, but not dry. You can never have that overflow coolant reservoir to be dry of coolant, and that's where you should check it. So that's what I would do if I were you, and then continue to. And I'm proud that you use the button on the steering wheel to bring up the engine temp, because that is the true temp as measured by the onboard computer, and it's a digital readout. So, a lot of times you look at the gauge, and if the gauge is an analog, you're not sure. Well, it's about in the middle where it has been for all these years or all these thousands of miles. But with you can read the actual temp of the engine, and 210 is normal. 210 is fine. That's not a problem. So you understand where I'm going? Do you have any questions?
Yes, I understand. I do have a question about the K-Seal. Where there's a plastic piece at the bottom of the radiator, and the old product was something called Bars Leak, but I was told that wouldn't work because of the plastic involved in the cooling system. K-Seal works in spite of plastic?
Yes. K-Seal is compatible not only with all coolants, but K-Seal is compatible with all materials, including plastics. In fact, K-Seal uses deposits and like fibers that actually seal through the passageway, and once they reach the ambient temperature, or once they reach the pressure point where the leak is, they clot just like your blood clots. So you're right on, and it will work. It is compatible. And I want to thank you for your call. You were the first one up for the last show of 2017. Happy New Year, Christine.
Your car and your life have a lot of moving parts, and your car's battery is what keeps it all going. Here's something to keep in mind. While all batteries may look the same on the outside, it's what's inside that matters. So be sure to choose a battery with power frame technology inside. It's stronger, more durable, and keeps you going longer. That means you can count on a battery with power frame to be there start after start. Here's another reason to feel good about choosing a battery with power frame inside. It's manufactured using the latest sustainable processes. You're moving fast, and you don't want anything to slow you down, especially an unreliable battery. So the next time you need to replace your car's battery, make sure you choose one with power frame technology inside. Look for power frame on the outside, and know there's true strength on the inside.
I have another vehicle repair to spotlight. A 99 Jeep Cherokee came into the shop recently with a P0303 misfire fault on cylinder number 3. The misfire was erratic, which made diagnosing the problem more difficult. Other shops had thrown parts at it, installing new plug wires, plugs, fuel injector, and some technical service bulletin updates. Nothing worked. We used a borescope, a type of inside-the-engine camera, to inspect the number 3 cylinder, and sure enough saw heavy carbon deposits around the exhaust valve. No traditional cleaner will work on a carbonized exhaust valve. Enter Berryman Products B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. We removed the plug, brought the piston around so the exhaust valve was just opening, and filled the cylinder with Berryman B12 Chem Tool Fuel System Cleaner. After an overnight soak, we siphoned out the chemical and replaced the plug. Now, several weeks since the repair, and no reported problems, thanks to Berryman. Find more automotive repair and maintenance solutions at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to share with you that this will be one of the last 2 hours that we will be broadcasting for 2017. It is December the 30th. I hope that you're all doing well and had a fantastic 17. It's been a great year for all of our families here and all our technicians, and we've just had a great end of the year send-off. Business is good, and health. We've also lost some folks this year, and so I want to remind all of you to stop and sort of smell the roses as you go along the way today, and you can do that just by joining me here. Miss Jen will take your call at 888 Car Clinic and put you in the queue, and I'll put you on the air. Let's go to New York and take a call from Mike. Mike, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Hello.
Hello, Mike, you're on the air.
Hey, Bobby, how you doing?
Just fine, thank you. I'm fine. How about yourself, sir?
Good. I've got a 1987 Jaguar XJ6, and I don't drive it in the winter. I drive it in the summer, of course.
Okay.
And when it sets over the winter, I end up with a lot of transmission fluid on the floor of the garage.
Right.
Now, I have replaced the seal around the pan. I checked the pan for cracks. And I've even taken the pan upside down on a bench and reset the holes so that in case they were pushed through from over torque.
Right.
Now, I did read somewhere that it's a possibility that it could be a vent on the top of that transmission. Now, it's a Borg Warner.
It is a Borg Warner, but it's not. It is a Borg Warner, Mike, but it's not the vent. The fluid never reaches the vent. The vent is in a hidden little pocket, a chamber with sort of like at a circus. You know, you go to the mirrors, you know, the mirror room, and you walk and you have to turn left, right, left, and well, those little flues or valleys are in all automatic, all standard transmissions as well, and power steering. A lot of mechanical units that rise and get hot. You have to vent the air. So back to the pan. Is the fluid that you see? Here's the main question, and you did the right thing by straightening the pan rail and the rails, because over torquing does, of course, bend. The newer transmissions don't suffer from that problem, like valve covers and cam covers, because they use rubber. They use a plastic framework that has a rubber O-ring and rubber surrounds that surround each bolt hole. And then you put the bolts in and torque it down, and then there's a hard plastic stops so that when you compress the rubber or where the bolt is, the bolt doesn't even know that it's not that it's pressing the rubber, because there's a hard plastic stop. So that gives the correct compression on the gasket, and it's true. You know, you understand those kinds of gaskets?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now, is your pan still leaking?
Yes.
Well, how do you know it's the pan? I mean,
well,
that's where
right.
I suspect it's coming from the front pump seal.
Front pump seal. Yeah. It seems to be running down from the top of the transmission, covering the components alongside of the transmission itself, and then running down onto the pan, like ripping off the pan lip.
Well, there's nothing on the top except maybe a cooler line or a transfer line, dipstick tube. That's in the bottom of the side of the pan. So can you see on top, or can you see that's coming? In other words, so the pan is not leaking. You can actually see the fluid running down from the top.
Right. Yeah.
Left side, or right side?
Seems like the driver's side, the left side.
Well, we have shift linkage, on the side.
Okay.
So I think the first thing to do is to clean it.
Yeah.
And thoroughly. And that's hard to do, because unless you've got a rack and a pressure washer, we use a chemical like alcohol that evaporates and leaves well, it does leave traces and what have you, at least, but it leaves it certainly dry. So that's the first thing that, Mike, that you need to do is you need to clean it and then drive it. But here's the bottom line: that vent is not going to leak, because that vent is on the top of the unit, and the fluid never reaches the top of the unit. When it does, it follows up there with a little air pressure, but that vent lets the air pressure out, and it retains the fluid. Unless there's a crack in the case, and Borg Warner just really, they'd never had any problems with cracks that I know of. So I think the thing you're to do is to, again, clean it, because this has been ongoing just from gathering our conversation here, and then drive it. And then here's the point: if the pan's leaking, in other words, you're saying you leave it for the holiday or for the winter, you don't drive it much in the winter, and then you see transmission fluid. Well, that's when front pump seals leak, because they relax and they get brittle and they get cold, and the more cold they are, the less grip they have, as you know, because they're just brittle. So I've got with an 87 model car, you're probably going to have to pull the unit and seal it. And so let's fast forward. Let's say that's what needs to be done. Number one, is that a 4x4? Is that a four-wheel drive vehicle?
No, rear wheel.
Okay, well, that's good. Number one. Number two, if you're going to have the transmission sealed, you need to find a shop with a technician who is really familiar with that transmission. And that won't be hard to do, except you want to specialize. And let me just share with you my colleagues. my colleagues are Bosch authorized service centers, Bosch Car Service. I was my shop, I'm proud to say, was the first authorized Bosch Car Service in the state of Florida and the 8th in the nation. And my team and I won the East Coast region. I won a 10-day trip to Germany and went to the research and development and the plants and where they make the motor tester machines and spark plugs. That was interesting to watch a spark plug. The silica, when they form the spark plug, and then they run the ceramic through the kiln to fire it. It was just a very interesting process because before it goes through the firing process, you could take your finger and thump it and it just flies like dust. It's just really very interesting how spark plugs are made. Anyway, back to your what I would recommend for you, because the Bosch service centers are more into foreign cars, at least that's how it started out, than the full service foreign, domestic, and Asian. I would just look up Bosch Car Service, and then you'll come up with maybe one or two in your area. There are only about 1,500 in the nation. It's a very close-knit, educated group of individuals, owners, shop owners, because it's not an easy, and I don't want to brag here, but I will. It's not easy, and everyone can't make it. Every owner, every shop can't be a Bosch Car Service Center because they're restricted. So to that end, and if you'd call me off air, I would say this same thing. So this is not about Bosch, it's about helping you with your automobile in this particular instance, and so that's what I would recommend. And I would make it. Yeah. You got a question? You have a question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, if I drive it in the summertime, I don't have any problems at all.
Well, yeah, because you keep the seals lubricated and you keep them exercised. I mean, yeah, that's a no, absolutely. But the bottom line is, this is the transmission telling you in a subtle way that, okay, I'm going to give you problems. So sooner or later, the seals are going to let go, or they're going to leak altogether. And once they start leaking when it's hot, then you got a mess, and then you got a potential of a failure, and that's what you don't want. You got a little nasty leak, so take care of the leak. And one thing that I didn't get to, and I was going to tell you about. You want someone that's familiar, because you don't want to go in there and put all the seals in the transmission. And you don't, because most transmission technicians will say, well, if I'm going to pull the transmission and go through that labor, I'm going to replace all the seals and may as well do a rebuild while we're at it.
Yeah.
And so, and you can't blame them, because it's like doing open heart surgery, and you do one bypass and you need a double, and you wake up and the doctor says, oh, by the way, Mike, you got to come back in 6 months because we got to do another one. What? Yeah, I mean, truly.
Yeah.
So you're going to have.
You're not going to get any closer to it.
No, you're not. And so you're going to have to find a shop that, number one, is willing to work on an 87 Jag to fix a leak without doing the whole job.
Is that a pretty popular transmission, right? That
Borg Warner? Oh yeah. Borg Warner is a huge company.
Been around a long time. Yeah.
They've been around long enough that I have some of my money invested in them. I like Borg Warner. But it only because they make a lot of original OE parts, and like factory parts, like your transmission. And then they also make and that's the irony, Mike, of car parts. The manufacturers that make car parts that new car makers install and use to assemble their cars are the same companies that make them for aftermarket. And yet there's a big differential, to most consumers think, and there are in some cases, electronics specifically. The people think there's I'm going to get a Ford water pump because I drive a Ford. Really? It's like saying I'm going to use Chevrolet oil because I drive a Chevrolet. It's like you saying I'm going to use Jaguar oil because I drive an 87 Jag. Jag does not make oil, and Ford doesn't make oil. Nor does Ford make, they do make transmissions. Sure. Ford and GM partnered on the transmission, on a 10-speed transmission. That's pretty cool. Yep. Hey, thanks for your call, and and find someone that is willing to do an exterior seal to include the front pump with no liability, and you agree, no liability, because your transmission works, but you have to take them for a ride so that you both agree your transmission is working as is and works fine, and you're not wanting them to replace all the internal seals. And if you have a challenge with a seal 2 months later internally, you're not going to hold them liable.
Yeah.
You're willing? Okay. Are you willing to do that?
Yep.
Yeah, so would I.
Good.
So would I. But you got to find the right person to have that conversation with, because there's a lot of trust that goes there. But that's what car repair is all about: trusting the person that is working on your automobile, because things don't always go. Hey, Mike, thank you for your call. Okay, folks, I want to come back and take your calls, and we're going to talk a little bit about the electrification of the fleet and self-driving cars and your challenges at 888 Car Clinic.
O'Reilly. Now through January 30th, you could win one of more than 17,000 prizes in the O'Reilly Auto Parts gift card giveaway powered by Valvoline. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today, pick up a game card, and follow the entry instructions to see if you're one of 500 lucky gift card winners each day. No purchase necessary. See O'ReillySweeps.com for official rules and details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Miss Jed will take your calls at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. So where are we in the big scheme of self-driving automobiles? And what's your take and what's your opinion? Do you think that will really, that technology will really ever come to fruition to the point that it makes a significant dent in the cars that we drive? Said another way, do you think that there will be 20 to 30% of all the cars on the road that will be self-driving? And if so, how long do you think that will take? And do you think that self-driving cars are safer than the cars that we drive? So those are a lot of questions, and you don't necessarily have to be well-versed on the subject. I'm not looking for technical input here. I'm just curious at this end of the year what your thoughts are about going into the new year. And so to that end, I want to share with you some information, but as I'm sharing this information, feel free to call. Miss Jan will take your call at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546, and put you in the queue. And if you've got a question about your own car or oil or fuel or whatever, backup cameras, it doesn't matter. Whatever, anything automotive related, I'm your guy. But here's what has to happen before self-driving cars hit the road. We have to have rules and regulations that are nationwide. Now, don't tell California, because California will make its own rules and regulations. That's okay. California, take it like it or not, California has always led the nation in transportation rules and regulations. Normally 4 to 6 years out. But let's focus on the bigger picture, not one state. Let's focus on the national. So the U.S. Department of Transportation and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration have released new federal guidance for automated driving systems. So this is really cool information. The new guidance supports further development of this important new technology, which has the potential to change the way we travel and how we deliver goods and services. And Elaine Kao, who is the Transportation Secretary, said the safe deployment of automated vehicle technologies means we can look forward to a future with fewer traffic fatalities and increased mobility for all Americans. Increased mobility. So think about it. Would you really care for a self-driving car, or do you have maybe a loved one that would care for it? So let's think about this. The ADS, which is the Automated Driving Systems, has a vision for safety 2.0, which calls for industry, state, and local governments, safety and mobility advocates, and the public, that would be you and me, to lay the path for the deployment of automated vehicles and technologies according to the agencies. And here's the bottom line, folks. In addition to safety, ADS technology offers important social benefits by improving access to transportation, independence, and quality of life for those who cannot drive because of illness, advanced age, or disability. And therein lies the true advantage, as we speak today, of self-driving cars. So the U.S. Department of Transportation sees that, and they are moving forward with organizations to create rules and regulations so that companies can build self-driving cars and sell them. Because you're not going to buy a car in California that you can't drive in, or that can't drive you in Washington, or in the city in Manhattan, or in Miami. Now let's shift gears. So having said all that, and obviously that's happening. To make no mistake about it, this will happen. And I may not be here. It may be 20 or 30 years, but I'll give you a brief overview of how I know this is happening. Former General Motors VP Bob Lutz, and that's the individual I spoke of earlier on in the program, foresees the end of human-driven cars and the automotive industry as we know it. And he makes a good point here. Now, he's a little bit, he says a lot of things, and he believes a lot of things, and he's been right a lot. By the same token, he doesn't know. We can't know. Nobody can know. But the bottom line is, he does make a great point. He expects the transition to autonomous cars to impact consumers fully within the next 15 to 20 years. And according to Bob Lutz, the tipping point, as Lutz puts it,
will be when roughly 20 to 30% of vehicles are self-driving, which can cause society to realize that autonomous cars are safer than those driven by humans. Human-driven vehicles will then be made illegal on roads. And this is Bob Lutz, not me. And car owners will either have to scrap their vehicles or trade them in for something that can drive itself. You say, well, that's a little forward thinking. Yeah, I think it is forward thinking, but I have to agree with Bob. Somewhere between way over where he is and way under where we are right now, if you call that, if you know what I'm saying, will be what is really happening. Okay, next. So now we have Bob Lutz saying, okay, 20, 30 years from now, we're going to have so many cars that we all know that they're safer, so that means you got to scrap your car. Well, that's not going to be the case at all. There's always going to be, if that's the case, there are too many people that would go out of business, and we're not going to cut our own, well, I don't know, I guess we do from time to time, cut our own throats, but we're not going to do that. The automotive manufacturers are not going to do that, because who's going to make these cars? Well, Ford, GM, Chrysler, right. How do I know that? I thought you'd never ask. Let's see. Volvo Electric. Volvo will launch its first electric car in 2019. Well, that's right around the corner. It will be a compact model offering 250 miles of range and cost between somewhere $35,000 and $40,000. But this will be just one configuration, as Volvo is planning to offer multiple battery sizes for each of its electric cars, a strategy so far that only Tesla has employed among volume automakers. For each electric car, Volvo will typically have at least 2 different battery sizes. So I'll just say that to say this. Volvo is making electric cars, as are all the automotive manufacturers. Let's go to Jesse in New York, who has a comment on self-driving cars. Jesse, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning from cold Owego, New York.
Owego, oh, you go. I know you, and I know your associates there. As I said before, and folks, just a quick reminder: we took our oval track race car to Owego, New York, to what was the name of the track, Jesse?
Shangri-La Speedway.
Shangri-La. We went to Shangri-La Speedway in New York, and it was, when we got there, we were much surprised because these were open wheel racers with 2 and 3 and 4 carburetors, and ours had a 1-barrel carburetor with no open wheel. But the main thing we didn't have, Jesse, we didn't have brakes. As I told you the last time you and I talked, it's been several months ago. We had drum brakes because in our neck of the racing, we didn't use the brakes that often. But up there, it was a flat track. Let me tell you, when you get down the number 1 turn, you gotta lock them up, and we didn't have any lock 'ems up. And
that's
so
where all the wrecks always were. Was that
yeah, that's right.
Turn.
Yeah. Well, what's your comment on self-driving cars?
I just worry about the risk of them being hacked all too easily.
The rest of them being what?
Being hacked too easily.
Well, that's a good point. And to that end, I recently, on our ABC affiliate here, WEAR TV3, which sort of is a fantastic, and I say fantastic because Breck Ford is our account executive there, and we do promote our business on TV3. But TV3 is the Gulf Coast gospel, if you will, on education and marketing as well. But I said that to say this. I was asked to come on and talk about hacking cars. And here's the bottom line, and I mentioned this recently: an F-22 fighter pilot runs with 2 million lines of code. A 757 plane has 14 million lines of code. And Jesse, a luxury car today has 100 million lines of code. I said all that to say that we're going to see 200 million lines of code cars. So when you try to hack that car, not only will it, now granted, the more lines of code you have, the more opportunities a hacker will have to get into the architecture of that electronics. That is a given. However, having said that, what my understanding is of codes, the more opportunities you have, the tougher it will be because they're interconnected and protective of one another. So it will be interesting. And let's face it, Jesse, so they hack a car. You know what'll happen? They'll fix the hack. They'll come out. By that time, they'll have a patch, just like Tesla does right now. The patch will be automatically downloaded. In fact, now you understand what I'm saying? You understand where I'm going?
I see your point.
Now, and to that end, let's look at another point. When I was a service manager for a Lincoln Mercury dealership in my younger years, before I opened my own business, we had maybe 2 cars that came in with a differential problem. This was a Lincoln. And the differential was leaking, and they found that the differential wasn't large enough to really hold the weight of this 4-door convertible Lincoln. I'm telling my age now, but that's okay. So Ford Motor Company saw that there was a challenge with the differentials, and they ordered 100,000 replacements. 100,000. Well, lo and behold, they only had about 200 problems. Unfortunately, those 200 problems were almost initially immediate, so they thought they were going to have to replace 100,000. And I can tell you, I know, and I forget his name now, there was a high-level individual in Ford's warranty department that lost his position, lost his job, fired him, because he ordered all those replacements because he wanted those Lincolns to be, serviced and properly. Now, that was a point in the case of too quick of an action and the thought process that affected the outcome. Now, the reason that this gentleman did this is because back then we had to have at least, back then you had a car that had a recall, but it didn't get recalled until a lot of cars had been back to the dealer, and then that paperwork got to the factory. I said paperwork by mail, they didn't have email. So we didn't have instantaneous reporting. We didn't have real-time monitoring of vehicles. So what happened was, to learn just how big the problem was took 6 months or a year for the automaker. That is not true today. Just the opposite is true today. If you buy a new, what kind of car do you drive, Jesse?
I got a 2001 Oldsmobile Bravada.
Okay, so you got a Bravada. All right, and they don't make that car any longer, but they still make the same parts for it. So you buy a new car. Let's say you bought a new Buick. All right, that's a similar car. And you drove it 50 miles, and it had a major oil leak, or it blew the engine. Automatically, that report would go to General Motors, and they would compare that. Their software would compare that to anybody else. Jesse from New York, Bobby from Florida, Jerry from Nebraska, and if 3 of us had an engine problem in 3 Buick-made cars. Or maybe it wasn't a Buick. Maybe it was a GMC with the same engine, or maybe a Chevrolet with a similar engine. Then immediately, General Motors would say, uh-oh, bad batch of engines here, or here's something causing a problem, and they would immediately step up and fix the car. To that reason and to that end, I say hacking will not be a problem.
Well, I'm hoping not. I just worry about, if I really wanted to cause a major throughway, highway accident, all they got to do is send one right single and every car make a right turn and cause a major chain of events.
I agree. I agree with you. And to that end, if you remember when the ADS, and I was talking about the government regulations and manufacturers, what they're doing now is they're going to make these cars, put these cars on the road, and then in 15 years, our conversation will sort of be like 15 years ago, 50+% of all foreign cars had synthetic oil. Only 2.5% of consumer cars in the U.S. use synthetic oil 15, 20 years ago. Well, now, more than 50% of the cars manufactured from the manufacturer call for synthetic oil. In fact, General Motors didn't make its own oil, but created its own spec with Dexus. So all all the Mobil ones and the Royal Purples and the AMSOILs, all those companies that make oil or formulate oil. Nobody makes oil, really. They formulate oil, had to shift gears and put it into high gear and make their oil to meet the specifications of General Motors Dexus. Now they have Dexus 2. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they're just using tribologists to create a spec for oil, and the oil is for a higher degree of lubrication so they can manufacture a closer tolerance on the engine so it can be more emissions and more efficient. Jesse, thanks for your call. Folks, thanks for tuning in this hour. I'm going to stay and another hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic coming up for those stations that air it. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And thank you, Marty White. Welcome to the last hour of the last program of the last Saturday of 2017. So join me, and let's have some fun this hour. I'm going to dedicate the entire 3 segments of Bobby Likis Car Clinic to our interaction, our phone calls. So if you have a car question, now's the time, or if you have a, I don't know, your philosophy or what do you think about self-driving cars? If you missed the first hour of today's broadcast, I really got into autonomous cars or self-driving cars, not autonomous, self-driving cars. There is a difference. And I also talked about Bob Lutz and how he felt that we would see in 20 to 30 years the fact that people will be selling their cars, scrapping their cars, and getting a self-driving car. And so that's lots of opinions there, so I'd like to hear yours at 888 Car Clinic. Miss Jan is back in the house today for the last show of the year. 888-227-2546. And proud to say that Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. And I can tell you, we are a stone's throw from our O'Reilly Auto Parts store, literally right here on Davis Highway in Pensacola, Florida, and they make us look good every day. So hats off to Chris and all the good guys at O'Reilly Auto Parts just up the street. I'm going to take your calls when I come back. I'm Bobby Likis with today's Vehicle Maintenance Spotlight, brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Here's a crash course in brake parts before you have a crash. Master cylinders distribute brake fluid to wheels. Calipers and wheel cylinders convert pressurized brake fluid into stopping power. Brake pads and shoes protect calipers from friction caused by stopping. To be safe, include your entire braking system in regular maintenance. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts for a wide selection of quality brakes. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly! If it's hard to stop or you hear squealing and grinding noises during braking, stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts. You'll find the brake parts you need from trusted brands like Brake Best Select, and Wagner Thermoquiet at everyday low prices. Play it safe with brake parts from O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Diablosport tuning systems boost your vehicle's power without popping the hood. But don't take my word for it. NHRA racer Bart Tobener has used Diablosport since 2001 and currently has an Intune i2 on his daily driver. Bart, the first to eclipse the 7-second mark with an S550 Mustang, knows horsepower. Says Bart, I'll continue to use Diablo as they lead the way in aftermarket handheld and tuning products. Drive to Diablosport.com.
Lung cancer kills more people than breast, colon, and prostate cancers combined. And 80% of those diagnosed with lung cancer never smoked or quit decades ago. If you or someone you know has lung cancer, the Bonnie J. Adario Lung Cancer Foundation can help. Text the word LUNGS to 50555 to help lung cancer patients and to fund the research needed to find a cure for the world's deadliest cancer. Go to lungcancerfoundation.org for more information.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at LendingTree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by General Tire and the new G-Max AS05. This particular tire and many of the General tires feature smart technologies like, especially with the G-Max AS05, visual wear alerts, all-season performance, and longer tread life. It truly is a smarter tire for a smarter driver. Learn more about the G-Max AS05 at GeneralTire.com. learn more about how to take care of your car right here at Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Folks, I have the information that can help you keep your car in your garage and out of mine or your local garage, wherever you may live across the states. And we're going to take a call from Missouri first, and I'll remind you that please call in earlier versus later so that we can have time to discuss your particular challenge or your conversation with regard to self-driving cars and the electrification of the fleet and any other automotive topic that you'd like to share with us on this forum this morning. This will be the last hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic for 2017. From Missouri, James, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Thank you, Bobby, very much, and a very happy New Year to you.
Thank you, sir. Right back at you.
My question is, I want to put antifreeze in the car because it's going to be 3 degrees below zero tonight.
Okay.
And I want to start it, and the starter engages, and then it disengages, and you can hear the starter spinning. But it does turn over the motor a little bit, so I don't think it's a missing tooth on the flywheel. And then I wanted to ask a question about the antifreeze. So what do you think is going on there?
Okay, let's. I'm not sure I agree with you. I think you're wishful thinking here, James. Well, you said that it bumps and it does turn the motor just a little bit, and then it bumps again, but it. No,
it won't bump again. It will engage, and it will turn the motor over a little bit, and then you can hear the starter going. Ding.
Oh, okay, all right. Here's what has to be done, and this has to be done only because you or I cannot know if there are missing teeth or damaged teeth on the flywheel. We hope, and that's the 4-letter word there, we hope that there's no teeth that are damaged so that you can put a reman starter or a new starter and move on. But here's the bottom line. In order to do that job properly and to make sure that you don't put a new starter and then in a month from now have the same issue all over again, it's easy enough to, once the starter is off, crank the engine over by hand with just, whatever means, whether it's a wrench in the front of the motor, whatever, and inspect for damaged teeth. And it's so simple for a technician to do that. You just simply take a magic marker and mark a tooth and then turn the engine until you get back around to that. And if you see any really, really damaged teeth, and here's the point, you'll see a series of teeth, 3 to 4 in a row that have a partial tear or a partial damage. And depending on how severe that damage is for those 3 or 4 teeth in a row as to whether or not the flywheel needs to be replaced, and we're hoping that it doesn't, because you got to pull the transaxle out to do that.
Right.
And last but not least, that's never mind. That's so anyway. Just have it inspected and then go from there. What about your coolant? What's your question there?
It's supposed to be really cold tonight, 3 degrees below zero, and I know the coolant isn't good enough for that. If I can't get the starter fixed, I told you a while back, and I got a lot of experience as a mechanic on automatic transmission, so I know I can do this job myself. But if something happens and it doesn't work, am I better off just to drain the radiator tonight so I get this fixed? Because I'm afraid that the antifreeze that's in there isn't going to be good enough.
Is this car going to be outside?
Yes, it will be.
Okay, I would not drain the radiator. I would put a drop light. You're a car guy, right? You have a drop light?
Yes, I do. I have 2 of them.
Well, there you go. I would put my own self-made heaters, and I would carefully. I would open the hood, put those down. Maybe you can put. I would put them. Doesn't matter, I guess. I'm trying to think where you put them on the inside. It depends on how much room you have in the engine compartment. But if you could put them in the engine compartment and then lay a blanket, like an army blanket, over the engine compartment and then close the hood and lay the blanket so that no wind goes through the radiator. So you want to cover from the front bumper, over the grill, into the engine compartment, over the 2 drop lights, and run an extension cord. Close the hood, or let it down. You won't be able to close it because you have that interference. That will and then make sure the car is aimed away from the wind. You know, aim it toward the house or the carport, and you're done. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay. So draining it would make it worse. Is that what you're saying?
No, draining it wouldn't protect the block. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
So it's a waste of time. I mean, you protect the radiator, but the radiator, so what? The radiator's $250, $300. A block is the kiss of death.
Yeah.
So and why go to that trouble? Because then you got to go to the trouble to refill it, and then what about tomorrow night, the next night? I mean, you want something that is portable and easy. Easy is good, man. So
I thought that the water in there, if it froze, that would be bad. But if I drained it, it can't freeze because it's not in there.
Well, yeah, but you can't drain the block.
Oh, I see. I got you. Okay.
So you're doing half the job. You're doing a tenth of the job because a block, an engine destruction, is 10 times worse than a radiator destruction.
Right.
So you're protecting the toes, and yet your whole body is exposed to the atmosphere. You know, hey, you got to do it all. So what's the easy way to do it all? Use 2 lamps or use 1 if you have only 1. And you understand what I'm saying exactly now? You with me?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Put them down in there and put them in a good place by the radiator.
Yeah.
And cover it with a blanket and make sure that the wind can't get underneath the car and all that, and then close the hood on top of the blanket as well as possible.
Yeah, exactly. You're done, and you're done. You got it? That'll work.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
What else?
Hey, Bobby. What?
What else?
Do you think it could be the starter like the Bendix kicking back out?
Yeah.
Because I crawled under there, and I could see part of the flywheel.
Yeah, I know.
But go ahead. Do you think it could be part of the Bendix?
Sure.
Part of the,
sure. Don't put a Bendix. Put a starter assembly on it. Don't waste your time.
Right, I will.
Okay.
I'm
All right,
going
my
to
friend.
O'Reilly because they sponsor you, so I'm starting to do that.
Well, I appreciate that. And O'Reilly is the auto parts there are great. Actually, what makes O'Reilly Auto Parts great is their people. I mean, parts, you got to have great parts, and O'Reilly Auto Parts has great parts, but it's their people. And I mean, Chris up the street, I talked about him, and I talk about him all the time. I can tell you, on occasion, when I have to work the service desk and my manager, one of my managers is out, which is really, for me, can be difficult. Because we order parts online. I just pick up the phone and say, Chris, I got a 2012 whatever, and here's what I need. I got you. He says, I got you back, and I can tell this is so great for me. So from a personal standpoint and a professional standpoint, O'Reilly Auto Parts does a lot for me and for my clients. But it's great to hear it coming from you, James, and I wish you a happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Happy New Year to you. I'll be listening next year. So
great.
See you
Thank
then.
you. Okay, my friend. How cool is that, folks? That's great. Let's take a call from Stan. Now, we talked about Stan. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Well, Happy New Year, Bobby. Thank you for taking my call.
You're welcome. And just to set the stage for whatever comments you have, earlier in today's broadcast, I talked about the U.S. Department of Transportation and the new guidance for self-driving systems. And then, of course, I talked about the ADS, which is the Automated Driving Systems, an organization. It's a vision for safety 2.0. And, folks, it calls for the industry, the state, and the local governments to be involved in, and including safety and mobility advocates and the public, that would be you and me, to lay the path for the deployment of automated vehicles and technologies, according to the agencies. And the real, and then I talked about Bob Lutz, and Stan, you're with me on this, I know. We're coming up on a hard break, so we won't go into our conversations yet, but I want our folks to know that they hang through the break. They'll hear some information that really they won't hear anywhere else except at the water cooler. And this is true information and accurate information. And folks are talking about whether or not in 20 years we're going to still own cars. According to Bob Lutz, and Stan, you may have heard that, according to Bob Lutz, who is the car guy, and he said he'll be dead by then, which he will be because of his age now. But I will tell you, according to him, he's saying that in 20 to 30 years that we'll be having to sell our cars because we learned that the self-driving cars are so safe and we won't drive cars anymore. Well, I think the love of automobiles will far exceed the technology, but I think it will be a codependent or a co-inhabitants. Yeah, not dependents. Anyway, we'll talk about it when I come back, folks. This is really interesting. If you have a car question, 888-227-2546 when I come back. Folks, recently we had a for-sale 2014 Nissan Frontier in the shop. The customer said the vehicle wasn't running well, nothing specific, but fuel mileage was down and the vehicle had lost its zip. As he explained, it's a manual transmission, so I know what it should feel like, and it's just not right. The suggested maintenance and ignition service were up to date, and there were no trouble codes. So what was the problem? The answer lies with today's complex engines. While the maintenance schedule was on time, engines today are prone to carbon deposit formation, and fuel system cleaning is a key piece of the puzzle. Professional fuel system cleaning is an option, but a less expensive alternative is the use of a pour-in fuel system cleaner. We use Berryman B12 Chem Tool in the shop. It features Berryman's proprietary high-energy solvent, or HEST technology. We poured a bottle of Berryman B12 Chem Tool into the Frontier, and after just one tank of gas, MPG improved and the vehicle regained its zippiness. For more information, drive to BerrymanProducts.com. That's BerrymanProducts.com. Car repairs can get expensive, and most folks don't have spare money laying around for them. That's where brands like K-Seal can really be a lifesaver. K-Seal is the #1 multi-purpose coolant leak repair in the world. And we've had more than 225,000 cars and small trucks roll through our car clinic doors over the past 47 years, and many times the cost of repair forces the car's owner to make the decision whether that car is worth fixing or not. For example, an older vehicle that uses a lot of coolant. Let's say the test results show an internal coolant leak, head gaskets likely. So with this older vehicle, do you fix the car or move on? A repair like that can cost several $1,000s, so this is the perfect time to add K-Seal. K-Seal is the #1 multi-purpose coolant leak repair in the world. You can find K-Seal at auto parts stores everywhere, and for all the details, go to kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Stan, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you, and thank you for waiting, and thank you for calling back.
Oh, you're welcome, sir. You are on a subject that's turned into a little game for us. We sometimes we'll drive around and say, well, we know in 100 years they're all going to be self-driving, and maybe that's true in 50 or 30 or maybe 5. I don't know what the number is. But what's going to be different in our driving experience? And then we go up and look at stuff like traffic lights. Well, we need traffic lights then because we've got V2V communication. Maybe they'll just slow down and we'll flow through the intersections without stopping.
Okay, now let me interrupt you right there, Stan, and so that we can keep our listeners, because I want this to be a share. What Stan just said was V2V. That's vehicle-to-vehicle communications, which means that if you crash avoidance, that's what it means. And in the FAA, that's exactly what that means. So that one plane has a sensor that knows where the other plane is, and of course there's flight controllers that know this as well. But nonetheless, via satellite and other communicative means, telematics specifically, one vehicle will know that another vehicle is coming closer and closer and closer, and imminently, without some change in speed and or direction, they will crash. And that will happen long before those vehicles ever get to the intersection of crash. That's what you're talking about, Stan.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I'm thinking that things will be much, much different. I believe, you know, that I raced for a number of years. I had a race car that I could not drive on the streets, and I think that's what the car enthusiasts are going to be left with, is a trailer into a place where they can go and enjoy their cars like mudders do now, to go out to the mud places. And the difference will be, at some point, is they will just not be safe enough to put on the highways, but you'll put them in some limited place. I think that's what, a lot of people will trade them in, a lot of people will scrap them, but the thing that continues to convince me that we need to do this is, I look around when I'm stopping at a traffic light, and more than 1 out of 10 times, I look over and see somebody that I question their ability to drive well. They're either old and they're looking through the steering wheel, or they're distracted, or they're
texting,
some bunch of other things. And I said, you know, we're killing 100 people a day on these highways in the U.S., and it's worse abroad. So I think that to save lives, we've got to do this, but of course we've got to get it right.
Well, I agree with you, especially with older drivers and what have you, and to that end, that's a godsend. EV cars, not self-driving cars, are godsend to folks when they get old, because they still have the mobility and they have that freedom. And I can tell you, and we lost my wife's mom this year. She was 99 and 9. She was 99 years and 9 months of age, and we took her keys away 4 or 5 years ago or so, but really not soon enough, because she had been involved in several accidents. The bottom line, so I'd like to devote, this particular hour to Robbie Cravey, my mother-in-law, who had passed and I had a great connection with. Now, back to our what we're talking about. I want to share this with you folks and Stan. The UPS currently operates more than 770 electric or hybrid vehicles and more than 8,500 alternative fuel and advanced technology trucks worldwide. And here's their goal. By 2020, UPS aims for 1 in 4 of its vehicles to be electric, hybrid, or alternative fuel. By 2022, Stan, 1,500 trucks, which is 66% of the UPS fleet, will operate on electricity. These numbers include Daimler's E-Canter short-range electric trucks. 66% of all UPS vehicles will be electric by 2022. Now, that didn't say they're going to be self-driving, but that shows you that where the growth in electric. So Stan, I have a question of you and for all of my colleagues out there, and even the new car and used car sales and business owners. Here's what we know. We know that EVs require less maintenance than regular automobiles, or I say regular, than the existing internal combustion engines. Would you agree with that, Stan?
Everything I know says that that's true, yes.
Well, let's ask Fabio. Fabio's our producer. Fabio, you drive a what? What year's your hybrid?
It's an 04.
04. And how many miles on it?
Almost 200,000.
And what is the single biggest challenge to date? Battery?
Yes.
And that was at 200, that was like 6 months ago.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so have you ever had a breakdown with that car or any significant maintenance that's compared to your other truck? Don't you own another regular?
Right, it's a Toyota Tacoma, 99.
Okay. Well, and Toyotas have a great repair record.
Oh, yeah.
So how's your hybrid and the other car compare?
They're very similar. I haven't had any issues with either of them that have kept me from going anywhere.
And the current condition of given the miles and age of each vehicle, would you say the EV car, would you strike off to California today in it versus the other one?
Besides the fact that it's newer, I could take my cars cross country with no problem, I believe.
Okay, what year is your truck?
99.
And you got a 99 and an 04.
Right.
And of course, Toyota makes good automobiles, as evidenced by in the shop right here. But as far as maintenance, you know, fewer oil changes, fewer brakes. How many brakes have you put on the EV car?
The Prius, I don't think I've changed the brakes, but I'm due now.
Okay, all right. So back to Stan, and I see that John's called again from New York. I want to hear John's comment too. Why don't we do a conference here? Push the conference button and let's bring John in on a conference. So John, we have just conferenced you in with Stan and yours truly on air nationally. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Great. Good morning, Bobby.
Morning, sir. So what's your take, John? Here, let me finish my little scenario first. So the EVs require less maintenance. The EV powertrains will last longer and have fewer breakdowns than internal combustion engines as we know it. And so my question would be, what will the OEMs who are going to be building these cars, knowing that the OEMs build cars today and then sell the parts to keep those cars running, what effect will it have on the automotive aftermarket and the dealership repair and maintenance industry? That's a huge question, and it's one that I don't know the three of us would be able to, are qualified. I certainly am qualified to address the issue, but that's a big picture. But John, let's hear your comment about self-driving cars.
Well, I'm thinking that if the day comes that self-driving cars are determined to be, you know, way past safer than a human-driven car, I think the demise of the human-driven car will be what it will cost to insure them.
Now you're getting to the real meat, like I was talking about. Who's gonna be servicing these cars or who's going to be selling the parts, because that's going to be a reduction in sales, and then the insurance is going to be a reduction in insurance for the self-driving, except for they still have to operate their companies, so they're going to target where the real target should be, the bad drivers, which is the human drivers. You make a really good point there.
Yeah, I just think that because insurance drives everything, whether it's health insurance, auto insurance. You have a certain car, obviously it costs more for collision on that car because they know everything right down to detail, what it's going to cost to fix that car, gets in an accident, and this, that, and whatever. So.
Well, I agree. Stan, any comment on John's comment?
Absolutely. That's another thing that I'm convinced will change dramatically is insurance, and that's one of the things that I think is going to drive us into self-driving cars as we proceed from level 3 to 4 to 5, where they're completely autonomous, is as they get safer, your insurance company is going to say, oh, you got a much safer car. We will charge you less, or you're still driving that one, so we're going to charge you more. And I think that they are, by necessity, going to drive us out of our self-driving cars over the next decade or so.
Well, you both make really good points, and John, thank you for your call. You're right on, and that's one of the things that we can be assured of. The cost of operations will directly affect the sale of the vehicle. Just like today, an EV car is $45,000-$50,000. I mean, Tesla came out, there's a $100,000 automobile. So you say, well, only those who have that kind of income can afford those cars. And now Tesla can't make cars fast enough because they're making the cheaper cars. Not Volkswagen, but Volvo is bringing cars out that are going to be targeted for the $30,000, $35,000 range. So I said all that to say this, and I believe this. You have to make the vehicle, you being the manufacturers, they have to make the vehicle affordable before the average American with the average American income can afford to buy that automobile. And then the government has to create all the rules and regulations that allow that vehicle to be driven on the road. So we're definitely headed in that direction. Another good example, another good question would be, what are the oil companies going to do? But the good news is we have plastics and we have so much that can be made with oil without burning gasoline. So there's a lot to be learned about and a lot to look forward to. Gentlemen, I want to thank you both. John, Stan, you said you had a question or comment?
Yeah, I got one more comment, which is something I read about Renault investing in batteries, being able to use the batteries in your car to take the pressure off the electrical grid.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah, you're right.
That's going to be big as far as electrification goes, because the challenge now with it has to do with we've got enough average energy to serve our population, but the peaks are terrifying. And what do you do about the peaks? What do you do about night?
Well, when I come back, we'll open the forum up for that, and perhaps we'll have someone from the Southern Company, our local Gulf Power, who can address and call 888 Car Clinic. John, thank you so much, and Stan, thank you so much, gentlemen from New York and Stan from Florida, for your participation in that segment. When I come back, more Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Don't touch that dial. 888 Car Clinic. Folks, October is Fall Car Care Month, and there's no better time to perform a thorough check of vehicle maintenance items. Start with your heater and defroster to make sure they're working properly. Consider winter wiper blades and use a cold weather washer fluid. There is a difference. Keeping your gas tank at least half full during cold weather may also prevent moisture buildup in gas lines that could ultimately freeze. Dirty or low oil can cause problems in the winter, so be diligent about recommended oil change intervals. Consider a winter weight oil if you live in a cold climate. Winter is a great time to also check your fuel, air, and transmission filter maintenance history. Daylight savings means it's a good time to check all exterior and interior lights and make sure the headlights are properly aimed and the lenses are clear. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. While you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. This will be the last segment of the last show of the last car clinic that you will hear for 2017. So let's go. Get on the hotline, 888 Car Clinic, and let's have some fun and some car fun. And I want to reach a shout out to all of the individuals that work in O'Reilly Auto Parts stores nationwide because they indeed provide a great service. And I say this from the bottom of my heart because having been in and serviced more than 225,000 cars for going on 47 years in automotive, I can tell you, for us to look good and to take care of our customers, we need the right part on time, and we need the support of the supplier. And that works for us, and O'Reilly Auto Parts steps up every day. O'Reilly Auto Parts, and by the way, go to orewards.com and enter your name, and you become an O Rewards member, and you get a point for every dollar you spend. It's just one of the ways that O'Reilly, and it's free service, it's one of the ways that O'Reilly Auto Parts does a great job for you, which also makes me look good as well. So hats off to O'Reilly Auto Parts. Let's go to Victor, but before we do, I want to also share with you the Car Care Council that has joined us as partners this year. And I've been really a member of the Car Care Council family for 35 years. What I really admire about this organization is that it's a nonprofit organization, folks, just for you to know. So if you need a schedule of maintenance for your particular vehicle, you go to carcare.org, put in your VIN, and it's there for you. They do all the work. There's videos, pictures, explanations. Actually, I wish I could convert our site to carcare. No, I wish I could convert their site to our site. So I'll work on that and maybe pull in some of their great descriptions, vivid videos about automotive service and maintenance. Carcare.org is the place that you need to go for your help. And so having said that, we're talking about electric cars, and we really think that according to all of the actions of car makers, UPS, Tesla, Volvo, Ford, GM, Chrysler, and they're putting a lot of power, research and development, and dollars into the electrification of their fleet. And so, is the future of the internal combustion engine? What is the future of the internal combustion engine? Well, that remains to be seen. Let's go to Victor first, and welcome Victor to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Welcome to, and glad to have you back on Bobby Likis Car Clinic from Washington.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby, and Happy New Year.
Thank you. Same to you, sir.
Yeah. Now, are these computers independent in the cars, or do they have an override or controlled by, say, a government's big center office or control center?
They are not controlled. They are not controlled externally. Though, let's talk about this. In order to put, and here's the way it is right now. Now, Tesla can do things with their cars that other manufacturers so far haven't done. They put it into a service mode, and then they download, and then when you, and they probably can download the service mode on the fly, but you have to reboot the system for that new application or new upgrade to take effect. And I say upgrade, it doesn't have to be an upgrade, it could be a later program. But Tesla does not control the drivability of the vehicles. However, having said that, and I see where you're going here, and the phones are loaded up, so I want to make this short, but I'll tell you, Victor, a friend of mine owns a Tesla. His wife is driving the car in Atlanta. He's on the road, I don't know, maybe even overseas, and he's opening the sunroof while she's driving the car. She picks up the phone and calls him and says, "Would you leave the sunroof alone?" So he's making a joke of this. And this gentleman works for Johnson Controls. And he's a very successful, globally very successful for Johnson Controls. And he loves technology. And he was sharing with me this story. So if he can control the sunroof of his Tesla while his wife is driving it, and he's not even in the car, can the manufacturer control the drivability? The answer is sure they can. But will they, and will that be a factor? And the answer will be no, because the liability then focuses on the manufacturer. And that's where, if you heard this caller from from New York talking about the insurance, that's where your insurance has to really dive into what can happen and what might happen. Your comments?
I do not trust center control of of an individual's sovereignty over where he wants to travel.
I agree.
As long as,
I agree.
And so I don't trust any of that stuff they're doing. If they could make the computer self-sufficient so that it would talk to each other on the road so they don't hit the other car, and they aren't controlled by some. See, the government can change the laws, and I don't trust the government. They've done so many things to us already, and they can set it up so you couldn't sue them if they ran everybody off the road or whatever. See, if they want to control, protect, and that's what they do.
Well, I I see your point, Victor, and I thank you for your call. And I will say this while I have you, that rest assured that the automotive manufacturers of the world who ultimately have the liability will make sure their cars that they are making will meet the government regulations, but they won't turn it over to the government because the government's not going to take the liability. So that's a protection that we have in our country that we still have, and I think we'll have going forward.
I don't agree, because any time a government gets the power to control, they do it, and they always go overboard on it. And it's very hard now to keep your sovereignty in a lot of ways.
I hear you.
And so forth.
I hear you. Hey, you make a good point, as always. Happy New Year, Victor.
Thanks.
You're welcome, sir. And let's go to the next caller, Mitch. Mitch from Texas. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good. Glad to hear you.
Glad to hear you.
My son, who works for NASA, has a Tesla, and it is an amazing car. I think that probably in 10 years, all high-end cars are going to have assisted driving. It's just, that thing is amazing.
And Mitch, to that end, assisted driving, and you're right, and so assisted driving, and it won't be 10 years because backup cameras will be mandated. ABS systems are mandated. So when safety systems and systems that make us better drivers prove out that they indeed do exactly what they claim they will do, then aren't we lucky, because it makes us better drivers. So your son is right on the money, and yes, every day that I drive my car, I use my backup camera, and every time I get in the car, I use my backup camera, of course, if I'm backing up. And so the bottom line is, I don't know what I'd do without it, because it makes me a better driver. So I appreciate that fact.
Have you noticed that when you get in a car without a backup camera,
yes,
and you back up, you instinctively look down to see, where am I?
Yeah, exactly. I know. Where do you live, Mitch?
Tyler, Texas.
Tyler. Well, Happy New Year to you, and thanks so much for calling this last segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Happy New Year.
Same to you.
Thank you, sir. Let's go to Nebraska and talk with Rod from Nebraska. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Hello, sir.
Hey, sir.
My comment is the big company is putting the money in the automated driving and things like that,
right?
Electric cars.
Okay.
Well, think of all the professional jobs that'll be lost, CDLs, and the mechanic. Used to be the grease monkey, then he's a mechanic.
Right.
Now he's a technician.
Right.
All those moving parts won't need to be replaced.
Well,
it's going to cost
Rod,
a lot of jobs.
You make a good point. You make a good point, Rod. And that, to that end, I mentioned that earlier on when I talked about what do we know. We know that EV cars, we think we know, and I'm pretty sure that from my experience with all of the cars for the last 47 years, and my experience with all of the cars in the last 4 to 7 years that are EVs, that the EVs require less maintenance. So my question, and that I pose, is about identical to yours, or certainly in the same ball field. Who's going to support the technology as we know it? And I will say this, just like the gentleman from Tyler, Texas called, and his son works for NASA. A good friend of mine works with NASA, and actually was the point person for the new moon rover that I drove, that he aligned and made that happen for me. And you'll remember in the 70s and the 80s, the NASA rocket scientists didn't have a job. Now they have a job, and Ford Motor Company actually opened a division in Silicon Valley so they could, rather than try to hire people from Silicon to move to Detroit, they moved their headquarters for the technology industry part of their business to Silicon Valley so they could have a better environment to hire those people. So I guess the bottom line is we both are on the same page, and I know from history that while somebody like buggy whips are out, you know, when a horseless carriage came along, there'll be jobs lost, but there'll be jobs to replace those jobs, because that's just the way. It's just the way life is. It's the way technology goes, and to that end, the more batteries, more. Siemens, for instance, is testing an e-highway of the future in Germany. They did that in 2012. And with the commercial vehicles retrofitted with a diesel and electric powertrain. So what you're saying is true. This won't happen like the flip of a switch, but it will happen.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your call, Rod. Let's take a call from Wayne now. And we're going to move away from electric vehicles and go to electricity existing under the hood. And Wayne, you have a question about ignition coils, right?
Yeah, I do. Hey, thanks, Bobby. Man, I love your show down there in Daytona.
Thank you.
And I guess we can switch it up a little bit.
Okay, please do. Go ahead.
Oh, wait, hey, yeah, okay. I've got an 05 CTS, and my engine coils are testing. At least when when I take it to my shop,
right,
and get it scanned,
right,
they're saying that it's a misfire in at least 2 of the coils. But when in waiting to get that done, I was wondering, because it could have been like maybe a fuel injector or something. I put some of that Chevron Techron fuel cleaner, full fuel system cleaner in,
right,
and it cleaned up. Well, it took the check engine light off.
Yeah.
And I regained a bunch of my horsepower, because what I was experiencing is when I get to, say, 4th or 5th gear, there's a little bit of a shudder, or if I'm going up a bridge or up a hill, the car begins to shudder.
You are right on. You are right on the money, Wayne. And what does a fuel system cleaner have to do with bad ignition coils? And I can explain that to you, unless you would like to explain it.
No, I want you to explain it.
Okay. Did you know, and don't try this at home, folks, did you know that you can stand on a rubber mat without being grounded and put 2 wires into the 110-volt plug of that feeds your lamp and touch both those wires with your hand without getting shocked?
Wow. Okay.
Did you know that?
Yeah, the rubber is not conducive.
That's correct. I have done that. I have done that, and probably you look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm not. I depending on the humidity, depending on the grounding, it will not shock you. Now, why does that have to do with a cylinder? When a cylinder's humidity and moisture factor is reduced, which means when it's leaned out, it gets so lean, the spark plug still fires, but there's nothing to carry the charge, so the engine misfires because there's no fuel in that cylinder, or there's not enough to properly carry it, so it misfires. And it has erratic burn ratio, or the propagation of the flame. I don't want to get technical, but here's the bottom line. In a dry environment, which you won't get shocked, in a dry environment, the coil is forced to produce the maximum voltage to force that flash across the spark plug, and that's why they have 100,000 volts on coils, so that you can run a lean cylinder, which is clean in emissions. A leaner the better. The leaner the better. The leaner the better. The leaner the better. And to that end, I'll share with you what Mazda's going to do with their particular engine, the HCCI. But before I do, so you've got a real lean environment, just like I'm sitting here on a rubber mat with a dry environment, holding my 110 volt wires without getting shocked. And now you've got a coil that is forced to push that voltage to the limit. And when it does, that voltage won't jump the gap, but it will find a fracture or a leaking point within its body, and it will short, and that's when it says coil bad. And when you put a fuel injector cleaner, what you did was remove some of the carbon from the back of the intake valves, and that cured some of the reason that the cylinder was too lean, forcing the coil to short. You got it?
Gotcha.
That's exactly.
Wow.
That's a great way to end this year, because that's truly why fuel injector cleaners, and I recommend the Berryman B12 Chem Tool of all injector cleaners, but that is truly why those systems need to be cleaned regularly. And with that, I want to wish everyone a happy, safe, don't be stupid tomorrow night. Happy Thanksgiving, happy 2017. Gosh, I wish I had more time. I'll see you next year.
And may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can put strains on your vehicle. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Your vehicle's tires keep you rolling down the proverbial highway. This time of year, it's smart to check tread depth before driving on icy roads, and you may want to consider special winter tires. Check tire pressure weekly during the winter, as every 10-degree drop in temperature causes a 1-pound decrease in tire pressure. Check your exhaust system for carbon monoxide leaks, as windows are more likely to be closed during this time of year. It's also a great idea to keep your gas tank half full, as this will help avoid moisture buildup in the gas lines, which could ultimately freeze this time of year. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way